Hey there, welcome to the Million Dollar Marketing Show. I'm your host, Jody Sedini. Dive deep with us into the marketing maze where we're going to tackle the big business questions head on, share expert insights, and crack the code on what it really takes to take your business to $1 million and beyond. Whether you're a battle-tested entrepreneur or just stepping into the arena, this podcast is your arsenal for strategies that hit the mark, expert advice that you can bank on, and of course, a good laugh or two. So grab your drink of choice, settle in, and let's get ready to turn your business into a powerhouse together. Hey guys, welcome back to the Million Dollar Marketing Podcast. And here I have Kaylee with me. I'm not going to try to say your last name. I should have asked you before we started how to pronounce your last name. Swigard?
Swigard, but I'll answer to anything.
Hey, you.
Exactly.
Well, before we jump in, I have some really great things for us to talk about today, but I want our listeners to have an idea of who you are and what you bring to the table. So just give me a quick, brief introduction.
Sure. So why you should listen to me. So for the past 10 years, I've been helping online businesses grow, mostly online coaches and consultants. And I spent 5 years helping some pretty big names grow, which I think I can mention. So, for example, I was with Elise Dharma for 5 years, where we went from 6 figures to multiple 7 per year. I spent some time with Michelle Gifford. So I've seen a side of the industry that a lot of people don't see. I've been on that roller coaster ride of like what it actually takes to grow an online business, which everybody wants to do, but most people haven't done it. So there's a lot of questions around how does it actually happen? So I'm really looking forward to talking about that today.
Yeah, I love that. All right. I met you when Elise hired my company for Facebook ads. And so we got to work together a little bit there. And I kind of want to segue into talking about the role of ads in scaling a business from 6 to 7 figures. How important was the role of Facebook ads in scaling Elise from like 6 to 7 figures and other clients that you've worked with?
Well, and so this is funny because most people, it's such a simple answer that it's ads, but so many people don't clue into that. So like you can get to $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, pretty much on your own with like some contractors maybe, but then people tend to hit what I call 300K jail. So it's like roughly around the 300K annual mark, roughly, give or take. And that's where a lot of people plateau. And then you know, it's funny because a lot of business owners go through the exact same phases. So this is really good news because, you know, entrepreneurship can feel really lonely, but like, I promise you, everybody pretty much thinks the same thing ultimately. Like people will reach that like 300K plateau and then their eyes are always on $1 million. Like I know if somebody's at 300K, like really, they're like, okay, how do I get from 300K to $1 million? And when you're in 300K jail, I say you need 2 things. You need team and ads. Because you do like 300K, even at 100K is when people really start to take themselves seriously as CEO. And so that is where you have to start thinking about what kind of leader am I? How am I actually showing up every day in this business to actually be able to lead a team? And also realizing, hey, there's only so many hours in a day. And I actually need to put fuel on this fire in the form of ads. And so like I don't know personally anybody who's scaled to $1 million a year or more organically. Maybe they exist. I haven't met them.
Yeah.
So I really do think like, especially in the Elise Dharma example, I mean, that was 2020. That when everybody was rushing online, ads were the thing. If it wasn't for ads, we would not. There's no way we would not have hit multiple 7 figures a year. It would not have happened. That is the engine. That is the driver. So yeah.
However, we also know that ads are a feeder into a system. And so without that groundwork, without having a proven profitable offer, without having someone like you behind the scenes, like supporting everything else and making sure that things are working, ads going into a business that is not really set up for success there isn't going to work. So I love that, because a lot of the people that come my way and say like, hey, I'm ready to hire you, they've either worked with another agency when they got to that like $250,000, $300,000 mark, or they have been trying to do it themselves or something like that. But a lot of people, yeah, they're around that area or hitting the $1 million mark, and they just want to explode it from there. So I totally get that. I've seen that in so many people that come my way, kind of stuck at that 300, maybe $500,000 mark, or they've limped their way along with another agency that got them to $1 million, but it just wasn't sustainable or working.
Yeah.
Or it stopped working, and the agency's like, it's your offer doesn't work anymore. And it's like, no, that's not true. Ads work. The offer's fine. If the offer got you to $1 million, it's not the offer suddenly not working.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any impactful case studies or anything that like illustrate some of that growth through ads, or breaking through that $300,000? I know we talked about that with Elise a little bit. What about like Michelle? Was she
We
doing?
actually haven't, I wasn't on the ad side of things for Michelle, but I did run, so I was launch manager with Michelle for a little bit.
Love
And
that.
so I will say, like, so having run launches, Elise is very much about ads. And so all the big unignorable launches, I will say, all had ads. And so I will say, having been in that scenario, running launches for Elise versus running launches for Michelle, I can absolutely see the difference that ads make in a launch. Absolutely. Like, if you want one of those, there are certain launches that some people in the online business industry will do, and we all know who they are. It's like, oh, this person's launching again. Amy Porterfield is launching in August. She does it every year. No, I know. We
Amy
all
Porterfield
know.
launch. Yeah.
Exactly, because we all know there are some standout, unignorable launches. We all know when they do them, and it's because of their ad game. And so, yeah, absolutely. I will say, like, ads are, if you want a truly unignorable launch, like, and I'm a huge, huge proponent of, like, I think what a really important aspect of an unignorable launch is the idea behind it, which this is what most people miss. So, listeners right now, you will have an advantage, because I've run many big launches, and this is what most people don't understand. The number one thing, and also I learned this actually at when I worked at an advertising school, the most awarded advertising school in the world. And so this is where I learned this. The most important part of any campaign, because what is a launch? A launch is just a campaign. What is the most important part of a launch? It's the idea. It's the idea behind the launch. Like, what is that? It really kind of, it relates to like the hook. Like, so for example, like, I came up with the Wheel of Fortune challenge for Elise.
I love that. I love that challenge too.
It's a good idea. It's the idea behind it. And so, like, that's, one piece of making an unignorable launch is, yes, start there. Start with the idea. But then the other piece is, like, that will only get you so far. So then,
Right.
like, and I knew that, like, yeah, social, organic, whatever, that'll get you far. But if you truly want a truly unignorable launch, you have to put the ad engine behind it. You really do.
Yeah.
Because people, even if it's a great idea, people will forget. People are not paying attention as much as we like to think they are.
And as much as I love organic social media, and I know you love organic social media as well, like, the algorithm doesn't always favor us. And so, people might be scrolling and they're going to see anything but our content. And if you just even take a tiny piece of budget and put it behind something that you've thrown up organically, then you're going to get in front of people even more and build like a video views audience that you can then leverage in your launch as well. I know one thing that we did for Elise too, speaking of launches, was like seeding the launch with new leads. It was sort of like, you have to have that risk tolerance though, of like, are these going to be the right leads? Because you don't know until it's time to convert them. So it's an interesting way. It's a longer game.
Yes.
And I do believe that marketing is a long game. It's not like a get rich quick. It's never going to be a get rich quick, unless you have a unicorn, which I've seen. I've worked with that before, but it's so much about the long game. You have to have that mindset of like knowing what your strategic direction is going to be with all of this. What's your end game? What's your goal? And how much can you invest on the front end that you're willing to risk to, have big profits on the back end. Like I seriously remember seeing like a 12x ROAS on one of the launches on the back end because of all the work that we had done on the front end for at least
Mm,
with the lead gen, and then getting those people in front of the launch and not even spending a ton on the launch because we spent so much on the front end
yeah.
and kind of put a lot of risk in there. And it turned out to be pretty successful.
Well,
So
that's the key though, right? Because so many people, because I'm known as the launch lady, so a lot of people come to me with launch questions. They're like, "Well, I want to launch this offer next week," and I'm like, "Are you crazy? Like, that is not long enough."
no,
Like, they do
no,
not, and I know they do not have the audience that can support launch a random launch next week. And so exactly
right.
what you said is like you do need that runway of building up leads. Like you have to have, people don't understand, you have to have the audience that can
Yeah.
support the kind of launch numbers you want. And that's one thing that I remember most about working with you is I feel like you're what stands out to me when I think about you and your agency is really and this sounds like I'm like gassing you up, but I'm being very real. Like you like your focus on the what I call funnel math of like your
Mhm,
obsession with statistics, like the stats, like
mhm.
looking at it, like what because like for every step of the funnel, because people don't really in general understand funnel math. They don't even understand if their funnel's working or not. So they can't
Yeah,
actually work backwards and do the math. Because really, and this is why I love funnels, because it's just math. And
it
so,
is.
but most people, exactly, it's just math. And I have a very logical, clear cut, like black and white brain. So that's why I love it.
Yeah.
But most people don't understand that it's a funnel. It's just an equation. So you can work backwards and say, okay, I need this amount of warm leads that will come from this amount of cold leads in order to get this many sales from this offer in this launch. And
Mhm.
so I love that you have that obsession because you understand that, but most people
Yeah.
don't. And so absolutely what you said, it's having that longer runway, and it is having that tolerance because a lot of people are impatient and don't want it. They don't want to think that far ahead, or they're
Yeah.
not willing to, yeah, risk some ad dollars for lead gen for that prospective
Or
payoff, however
they'll say,
long.
"I want $1 million launch. I wanna make $1 million." I'll be like, "Okay, well, you have to spend 250,000 on the front end." And they'll be
Yeah,
like, "What do you mean? What do
yeah,
you mean?" Like,
yeah.
I see that meme in my head, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" Like
Well, or just they just don't have like, and this is like another reason, an email subscriber is worth 42 times more than a social media follower.
Mm,
And so I really want people to understand like you need to build up your email list.
yeah.
You
I
have
love
to.
I love building up an email list with like a self-liquidating offer funnel as
Yes.
well, because that's like a list of buyers, and those prove over and over again to be even more high converting. So I have a client right now, super smart move. It's summertime. Nobody's launching right now. Like
Mhm.
nobody wants to do the big launching. No, everybody wants to be kind of passive right now, right? And she's being so smart because she's running her slow funnel. She's investing in the ads, investing in paying for leads right now so that in the fall, when she's
Mhm.
launching, she's
Mhm.
got this fresh, huge list of
Exactly.
tiny offer buyers that are ready to buy her high ticket program. And like I've done episodes about this before. I was like, you guys, it's time now. It's
Yes.
time
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
July, people are chilling out. They don't want to invest in a big program. They're kind of taking time off. And so it's time to be doing lead gen or slow funnels or something low ticket and
Mhm.
get people on your list. Make sure you're still engaging them. Like I get you want to be sipping margaritas by the pool, but you still got to email your list at least once a week and make
Mhm.
sure that they remember you so that come launch time, you are not like just some rando person that hits their spam
Yeah.
inbox instead of their regular inbox. And they're like, oh yeah, Jody always shows up with good value. You want to make sure that you're staying top of mind.
Yeah,
So
and I think a lot of people like, and this is, my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but so a lot of people don't understand that meta ads are an auction. You're bidding to get in
right.
front of eyeballs. And so that's why people say, whoever can spend, I don't know if people actually understand this and actually like internalize this, but like that is why you hear people say, whoever can spend the most to get in front of somebody wins.
Hmm.
Because it's an auction, it's a bid. You're bidding on like attention, essentially.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah, do you know
And
how many
so
people are using Amy Porterfield and Female
yes,
Entrepreneur Association as their targeting? Like, you
yes,
have to be willing to spend more than the billions of other people that are using that as their targeting to get in front
yes.
of female coaches.
And so
So,
that's why I love what you said about like July, because I'm like, yes, because do you know when a lot of people are going to be spending ad dollars in the fall?
oh,
So that means you're going to be trying to outbid. You're going to be trying to compete with. So like, how can you compete with somebody who's spending a bajillion dollars in ads? You can do your darndest to try to have better creative, better copy. Cool.
mhm.
But I love what you said about July. It's like, no, like this is like from here on out, like August onwards, ads are going to be more expensive because that's buying season and everybody's going to be trying to get in front of the people you're trying to get in front of. So do it now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now is the time. And thankfully this episode is going to be releasing still in July,
I
like
was
first
thinking that I'm
week
like,
of
oh
July.
no, we're going to just like disappoint everyone.
Still
Let's
relevant.
see in
Listeners,
Q4.
still relevant. Yes. All right. So we've talked a little bit about ads. I know that you have a lot of experience around building a team and
Mhm.
making sure that that support is there to support the rapid business scaling. Because like for real, going from 0 to 300,000 where you hit that jail mark is, I don't want to say not that hard, but so many people do it. So many
Yes.
people do it. It's
It's not
very
that hard.
possible, right? And so many people get scared and stop there, or it's too
Yeah.
hard, or they're not willing to invest or whatever, and they don't go past that. So, but past that is usually, because of ads putting fuel on the fire, very rapid. And so what does
Mhm.
that take as far as team members and leadership and fostering that productive team environment?
Yeah, I have so much to say about this.
Mhm.
Because for actually the entire 5 years I was with Elise, I was the only full-time person. And so I was essentially everybody else's manager. I did
Yeah.
the hiring, the firing, everything. I had to figure out how to like be a leader. How, like, what does that even mean?
Right.
I have a lot of thoughts about this, but yeah, I love what you said because yeah, at that 300K mark, as I don't remember exactly how you just worded it right now, but essentially alluding to people kind of almost have a bit of an identity crisis because they have to really take themselves seriously as CEO of like, okay, I have to be the kind of role model, which that's scary to people
Mhm.
for the team.
Mhm.
I have to be the business owner who is willing to take bigger risks. And yes, that means
Yeah.
ad dollars. I also, and this is what people, I find it's funny, in corporate, people take this for granted because it's so a part of corporate culture. And this is actually a part of, corporate gets, it's like a dirty word in online business. People have a lot of bad things to say about the corporate world. I actually think there's quite a few things. I think especially as you get quote unquote higher level, there's actually quite a few good things we could take from the corporate world. So for example, like I don't think enough online business owners, like if you are an online business owner and you want to get out of 300K jail and you're eyeing 1 million, maybe secretly deep down you want 10 million. Well, guess what? I very strongly believe you need to take vision and mission and values
Mm.
seriously. Like that's the unsexy stuff that it's like, oh, that's so corporate. Yeah, and guess what? It's been around for a long time because corporate world tends to have multiple levels of leadership, much more like many more people.
Right.
And so the function of like, I really believe in this because especially if you want somebody running your social media or doing your copywriting, or, if you want to clone yourself in any way, which everybody does because you only have so many hours in the day and you can't do everything. You need something to unite people. So you need to have that. You need not just your outside audience, but also your internal team to understand, like you're essentially selling them on why they should work for you. Because if they're really that talented, they could go do it themselves. They could go work for somebody else. You need to have a very clear mission, vision. I can't even say it. Mission, vision, and values. Because it not only helps them like understand that they're in the right place, because people really do want to feel purpose at work. They really do. But also like for your copywriting, for your product creation, for your social media, whatever, having your perspective, a very clear outline of like, what do we believe? What are we actually going? That's what a mission is. Like, what are we actually going for here? Vision is what are we going for here? Mission is how are we going to get there? And your internal team has to understand that, because that is how you get out of the everyday. You only get out of the everyday if you can essentially put your brain into everything else, so you don't actually have to physically be there. And so that is, I know it's unsexy, but I really do believe that if one of the best things you can do for your team, if you are trying to be a better leader, is actually think about, for real, mission, vision, values, and invest in yourself as a leader. Like, if you can't set good boundaries, if you can't have hard conversations, you need to invest in that. You really do.
That's one of my favorite books is Radical Candor. In fact, I have 2 copies of it because I like it so much, and I have the audiobook version. But that is such a good book for having those candid conversations with a team member. But also, like, I totally love what you said about mission, values, and vision. Are you familiar with Alex Sharfin?
I know the name. I don't know why I know the name.
Yeah. So I was in his mastermind. Then he changed his business. It was like Sharfin, and then it was Simple Operations, and now they shut it all down. It was like literally my next move was to join that, because I've been in his mastermind before, and it helped me create a really great company culture in my previous multi-7-figure business. And we installed all of his systems. And one of the things that he said was, you don't want to be the leader that's literally dragging your team behind you. Like, come on, guys, you can do it. You can do it. When you've got that clear vision and you've communicated that to your team, they know exactly when they're going to hear from you, what that cadence looks like as far as like meetings and things like that. You're leading them from behind, almost like the wolf pack, right? Like the leader is usually in the back, like looking for the watch outs and the gotchas that come from behind, and they all know where they're going. And I don't have to be the one dragging them along. They know where we're going. They know what our company values are. They know what we're expecting of them. All they have to do is show up and like hit those minimum goals, at the very least. I was featured in an article on Medium regarding that too, of like growing a team, the leadership, the core values. And so I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said there. I love that. We've talked about leveraging ads for business growth. We've talked about the business culture and things like that. Those are super, super important. I'm going to come at you with a surprise.
Please, cool. I love it.
I'm going to do some rapid fire questions about Haley, fun stuff, because I want to humanize you a little bit more, because sometimes we get lost in like the business land of things, and we rarely meet a lot of our good friends that we have online in person. So question number 1, how tall are you?
I'm about 5'9".
Okay, you're tall. You're pretty
How
tall.
tall are you? How tall are you? I feel like you're
5'11". I'm 5'11".
Okay, I feel
like,
like you're tall.
I've met some people and they were like super short. I was like, wow, you're fun size. Like, I had no idea.
I wish I was fun size, but yeah.
You can still be fun without being short. That's fine.
Be fun.
Okay, coffee or tea?
I'm drinking tea right now, but I always start the day with a coffee.
Yeah, I'm a coffee girl for sure.
No.
Cats or dogs?
I mean, I can't resist a cute little kitty. They're just so cute.
All right, and you're a Toronto girl, and I'm in Michigan. We're surrounded by fresh water, but if you had a choice, fresh water or salt water?
I would go for the pool, man. I'm not into like seaweed and rocks and fish. I'm going for the pool.
Give me a pool. Give me an animal-free, fish-free pool.
I'm not going. Yeah, get me out of here. I'm going to the pool.
All right, what's your favorite sport?
I did jiu-jitsu for 10 years, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
I remember that about you. I thought that was incredibly cool. A little bit crazy.
Well,
I feel like I might need to be scared of you.
Honestly, it's the best learning, for online business. People always say, they'll say, you either win or you learn, but it's so hard for people to internalize. But when you have spent 10 years fighting men, and losing 99% of the time, you really, really, really learn that lesson of you either win or you learn. So I'm really good at,
finding the lesson.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so valuable for online business people. Like, do you mean it when you say like, oh, I'm willing to learn. There is no failure. Like, well, do you really mean that? Because you have to, that becomes even bigger for you, the bigger risks you're taking. Because what if you do launch an SLO funnel and it's not working? What are you going to do? Are you going to take those lessons? Are you going to be okay with it?
Give up and go home. That is not what you
No,
should do.
no, don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't do that because I've said this so many times before, but I do truly believe that ads always work, that marketing always
Oh,
work.
yeah.
It always works. So
But
it's a matter of
it's
like
what we
fixing
said.
the thing.
It's the equation. It's just a math equation. Like
Yeah,
it will work. You just have to figure what you tweak, which is what you do so well because it's just an equation. It's literally just math.
yeah, yeah. All right,
Literally.
that's a great segue into how my listeners can connect with you, just in case they want more insights or guidance or your support.
Yeah. I'm happy to share like the real of like what actually happens to take an online coaching business in particular. That's my specialty. To 7 or 8 figures. I wish I had an easier name to spell, or just you go to
We'll make sure we drop it in the show
kayleeswigard.com.
notes.
I know, figure that one out. kayleeswigard.com. Or Kaylee Swigard on Instagram. I'm on Instagram a bajillion times a day. Yeah, I'm happy to chat. Send me a DM. I love looking at people's businesses because usually, you know what, and you know this from the funnel math, there's usually only 1 or 2 tweaks that really
Yeah.
need to be looked at in order to make a huge difference.
Yep.
It's insane. People will feel stuck for so long. And then somebody like you and I who can like really just look at specifically where in this funnel is the biggest opportunity. You fix that and boom, everything changes.
Yeah, looking at it from a positive psychology stance. One of my friend, good client, Valerie Burton, she's positive psychology coach, and she says, growth gaps or opportunities. I'm like, that's such a way better way to say like that sucks and you need to fix it. So
It's just learning.
opportunities, growth gaps.
It's just learning, right? Like if you are committed, like you truly will not fail. Anybody can have $1 million funnel if you just don't give up. You really can. Ads will certainly help you get there. But if you just don't give up, you really can. You really can do it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you, Kaylee, for sharing your expertise. And guys, make sure that you stick around for the next episode of $1 Million Marketing Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the $1 Million Marketing Show. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the world of marketing, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And hey, if you're feeling extra generous, drop us a review and spread the word to your fellow entrepreneurs. Your support means the world to us, and it really helps us reach more entrepreneurs just like you. Until next time, remember that in business, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. I'll catch you on the next episode.